certainly are. Credit to that Barcelona side. They've got the job done. They did what they needed to do today. But Farah, Karen, Jackie describes it there on commentary as just a Chelsea horror show today. We tried to be optimistic pre-match, but was the golfing clash just far too much today, Farah?
Yeah, I think so. Kaz mentioned it at the half. You could see it, I think, you know, over the two legs, the way that Barcelona dominated both legs. A little bit of an embarrassment to Chelsea, I felt. You know, certainly if you look back to the semi-final last year, only losing 2-1 over the two legs for Chelsea, you'd have thought they might have closed the gap, certainly bringing in players, maybe close that gap. It looks as if the gap's got even bigger for them. And, yeah, it was, you know, these players will be hurting for sure. You know, a little bit of pride in there, but overall, over the two legs, Kaz, I don't know if you agree, but, you know, it has been embarrassing for them.
It's been humbling because I'm trying to wrap my brain, where did Chelsea go now? Because as Farah said, from last year to this year, you know, do you keep buying and chasing and recruiting players? Is it a mental thing? Is it tactically? Because we'll probably show why we think tactics played a huge part in that game as well. The gulf shouldn't be that big. You know, Barca are an excellent team, but 8-2. I'm gutted because every individual player put in the effort they wanted to be there, but the gulf is too big, and I don't really understand why, because it shouldn't be 8-2.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. We'll come back and we'll get into what went wrong for Chelsea. Well, credit where credit is due. Barcelona dominant, home and away. 4-1 scorelines across the two legs. I mean, they booked themselves a place in the final in Lisbon in May. It's actually their fifth straight final as well. They equal the competition record, which is set by Lyon. So fair play to them. But from a Chelsea perspective, we really tried to sort of, you know, there's a lot of positivity pre-match around this game. As you say, Karen, the players, they will have given everything they can out there. But should we take it back from the beginning then? Because it was Bonmati with the first goal 25 minutes into this. Chelsea had some chances before this, but giving a player like this so much time and space, Karen.
Yeah, I mean, she runs the length of the pitch, and, you know, a big theme throughout the two legs is the structure and the defensive mindset at Chelsea hasn't been there. Look, Niamh Charles goes in, you can't ride that tackle, can't lose it. And you know what? Sometimes we don't win the ball, take the player. And I don't agree with that at times, but take the player out if you have to. But she rides it, and then they're too slow to get across to Millie Brighton. Just can't get there, and look, Hannah Hampton will look back and think I probably should have done better, and keep your team in the game. Goalkeepers in there for big moments, and then after that, then it was, I felt they'd lost their heads.
Oh yeah, Payet got the second on the 41st minute, and it just started to feel like Barcelona was starting to find the momentum, and they were just pinging these balls left, right and centre.
Yeah, I think once you allow Barca into the game, they were comfortable, but once you allow them into the game, I think Charles here, you can see, has to get tighter to Graham Hansen. We know she's going to go down the outside, give her that much time and space, she's going to push it past you like she does. You'll see here, keeps the width, Graham Hansen. Payet is just on Millie Bright's shoulder. If you just keep an eye on the top right-hand corner, you'll just see the movement here. Millie's aware of her, but what you can't do is let the centre-forward get across you like that, as easy as that, because it becomes a tap-in. But as you say, the initial stop the cross, get tight to her, don't allow her into the box, doesn't, and Puyol puts in an easy tap-in into the goal, and it's 2-0 to Barcelona.
It was 2-0 at that point. Then just 1 minute 46 seconds between their second and their third. What did that sort of tell you where Chelsea were at that moment?
Like I said, Becky, they'd lost their head, and they lost it in the first leg as well. And I said it should never have been to 3-1 in the first leg. Look, they're all over the shot. Lucy Bronze rise that tackle. Kira Walsh can't get near to him, and no one's really taking any responsibility. And you give this talented player that amount of time at this level, she's ruthless. This whole Barcelona team has been ruthless. And look, Chelsea have not helped themselves with how they tactically set up, but you can't take nothing away from this exquisite finish. But it has been so disappointing watching this Chelsea team, because you don't get to semi-finals every day in Champions Leagues, and they'll be sat there tomorrow thinking we massively got this wrong.
Yeah, in the race for the Golden Boots as well, Claudia Pina. I mean, what a season that she is having. She scored a brace last week. She helped herself to another one tonight. She's just a class act, is she not, Farah?
Oh, yeah, beautiful young player to watch. I think, you know, bags of confidence, and you saw the ability over the both legs, come on as a substitute last week in the first leg and got 2 goals. And then, I mean, the beauty of that goal, give her half a yard, and she's used Lucy Bronze, actually, to guide it around her. But, yeah, really well-taken goal from her.
The fourth one, was this just... Kaz has got her head in her hands almost with this one.
Farah, do you want to take
You
this
were
one?
screaming,
Farah,
just
come
clear
on.
it.
But I think that actually Chelsea did a little bit better in the second half. They was a little bit more aggressive. But here, you've been given the ball here, Charles. You just need to clear your lines. It's Paraleo who knocks it over. Millie Bright tries to leave one in, doesn't get there. But then here is Paraleo, lifts it over Charles. Just get rid of the ball. Instead, she tries to chest it down inside her box, doesn't know what's around her, and it's an easy tap-in. But yeah, I think this just sums up the two legs for Chelsea, this goal.
If you go back to though, Niamh Charles is there playing nearly centre-back. Honestly, defensively, tactically, they tried to go player for player and it was all over the shop. So I feel for Niamh today, Niamh Charles. Honestly, I do. But yeah, I think it's time to watch the Arsenal game.
Arsenal's still a hope. But look, let's end it on a high for Chelsea because they did manage to nick a goal at the end. Caps in there. There was still boos at the full-time whistle. But, I mean... I say, what can you take from this? I mean, really not much. It's over.
I mean, again, like I said, every individual player did try today. And you know what? I'm happy for this young player. You know, he played last week, was difficult, and had to come on today. And Aggie Beaver-Jones as well. There's some, you know, the positives are some young players here that will be brilliant in the future. And these will be big moments and they'll learn from it. That's a lovely finish. But they have to learn from this because, like Farah said, to go from last year to this year, there's got to be some big learnings.
Well, did they just look really disjointed, which was actually a bit of a surprise because they've had the time to prep for this? Sonia last week said that Barcelona didn't do anything she wasn't expecting. So why were they so disjointed?
I felt like they were really passive in the first leg, and it looked similar to here. It looked like they changed tactically in this game, and I think myself and Kaz, we recognised that they went a little bit player for player. And in doing that, you know, trying to put a high press, trying to go player for player, they look like they was all over the place. You see players coming out of positions, being dragged out into areas they don't want to. You can see here the communication between Germa and Charles. Who's taking her, who's putting the press on, they don't know. They get away with this one and Charles gets a blocking. But we noticed it throughout, didn't we, Kaz, in terms of that player for player marking and then the disconnect between the units, individual units and players. You can see here Baltimore, you know, who's tracking Matty into the box, they don't know, and then a free shot at the far post, Kaz.
Look, and Barca are a top team, but you can't go player for player, especially with... I'm going to be harsh, the midfield isn't mobile enough to be able to go player for player. There's players on there that... Paraleo has the same speed as a GB Olympian that went to Paris last year. You cannot go player for player with that. It's impossible to keep up with these players, and they're technically better than Chelsea. So you have to have structure. You have to have a team together. And I think Sonia will be really disappointed with that because, like I said, where did Chelsea go? They're buying players. They're trying to keep up. But tactics has let them down, and the mentality of game management over the two legs has cost them because from last year to this year, that's the only difference. They've improved their squad.
Well, is this a bit of a reality check? Because these are the leaders of the WSL. This is the best that we have in our country. And then you're coming up against a Barcelona side that they've lost 4-1 over both legs.
I'm not, sorry, but I have to go back, and I'm not saying it, but in 2007, we won with Arsenal. And we were like Chelsea, and you can challenge me on this, but we won the league and we won the FA Cup. And it was comfortable for us. But when we went in the Champions League, we went back to tight, we were structured, we were defensive, and we stayed together as a team. And we actually humbled ourselves and said, they're better than us, but if we're going to win it, we're going to have to do something a little bit different to win the first one. Chelsea haven't done that. I don't know whether you agree or disagree.
No, I do. I agree. I think when I look back to that 2017, and bearing in mind that was over a two-legged fixture as well for a final, they were, the Arsenal team that we used to play against were dominant. You know, they'd play everybody off the pitch. They were ruthless. That was something they were. I think that's something that Chelsea aren't in the WSL. Yes, they dominate the WSL, but they aren't ruthless. They should be putting teams to bed. That was something that Arsenal team in 2007 did. They'd beat teams 10-0 and wouldn't be bothered, wouldn't feel sorry for them. This Chelsea team haven't got that same mentality. But, yeah, I think over the two legs, I think they just weren't good enough. I think, you know, have they improved? There'll be question marks around that. I don't think so in Europe. I think the WSL has been too easy for them at times, and they haven't grown with that.
All right, well, lessons to be learnt for Chelsea. Hopefully we will hear from Sonia Bonpastor coming up after the break.
And this has been a horror show for Sonia Bonpastor's Chelsea.
All right, well, let's hear from Erin Cuthbert. She has been speaking to Connie McLaughlin.
Pretty emphatic one again today, and how do you begin to sum that up?
I think the emotions are quite raw just now. I think it's fair to say that we're beat fair and square. Had a good spell, first 20 minutes, you know, and if you don't score, Barcelona are always going to go up the other end and hurt you. So, yeah, they were brilliant again today, but I feel like we did start well, but, you know, we just sort of faded in the game when you don't get that goal.
And that then becomes tricky because when their first goal goes in, the heads then naturally go down and it feels as if you've got a mountain to climb.
Yeah, it's of course it's natural. Then you know how many goals you need to score, and at that point it starts to become more difficult. I think for them, like, they're so clinical. They get 3 chances and they score 3 goals. So credit to them. I think that's something that, you know, going forward we need to improve. I think we've had a few chances in the game, first 20 minutes, and got to take those chances.
What did Sonia say to you at half-time? Because it feels, I would imagine, like there's an awful long way to go in the game at that point. You just want to keep that deficit down?
Yeah, for us, it was just about playing with a bit of pride. Like, you know, we're 3-0 down. The tie is probably lost at that point, and we just need to accept that and play with a bit of pride. Like, we all represent one of the biggest clubs in the world, so representing Chelsea comes with a weight, and it comes with a pressure, and it comes with an expectation that you're going to give everything for the badge. So just go out there and play with a bit of pride, you know, put some tackles in, because I didn't think we got close enough to them maybe in the last 20 minutes of the first half.
Given the fact of where we are in the season, there's still so much to play for. How do you make sure this doesn't then become season defining?
Well, that's it. I think for us, it's just we need to play for the rest of the games that we've got coming up. Use this hurt, remember what it feels like, and know that we don't want to feel that again. And use it as fuel and motivation to keep going on. And we've got 2 trophies to play for. So for us, what bigger incentive than Manchester United in 3 days? And I think as a football player, you just want the next game to come. So we'll be ready.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mentioned it there. They do have 2 more trophies to play for in the league title and the FA Cup. They've already won the Conti Cup, of course. But the bigger picture here, she says you've got to use that as fuel now, this upset, because they're not used to being in this position. How do they get themselves out of what they feel now?
I don't think you can, though, Becky. I think that will sit with them for a while, semi-final and that scoreline. I think they do need to go back and reset, and eventually, when it's more manageable, to try and watch it back and get some lessons for next season. And again, I think for me it was down to structure and giving yourself a chance and managing the game. And because they've brought in players, so for me it's more of a tactical and mentality thing that they need to be better at moving forward.
Has this just given them a reality check, and potentially the direction of sort of travel where they're going under Sonia Bonpastor potentially has just changed because of this?
Maybe a little bit. As you mentioned, you know, most of this squad is Emma Hayes' squad. This is her first season, Sonia. She has inherited a very good Chelsea squad, and so she knew with the squad she had, a few additions, you know, might help them. I think we've seen today that the gulf in terms of European football has certainly got bigger. But let's think back to last season. Chelsea did only win the domestic league, so they only won the WSL. They've already won the League Cup. They're on, you know, another game, I think it is, they need to win the WSL, and then an FA Cup final. So they have, in terms of domestic league and cup, they've done better than last year, so they certainly are improving in that area and being more dominant. But European football is the one thing that, you know, they're trying to chase, and they're still so far away from doing that. So I think, you know, after the season, they have to hit the reset button. I don't think they're going to look at that game now. They're going to have to put that to bed. You know, because they do have the league and FA Cup to focus on, but they might need to bring some players in, some ins and outs in the summer, if they are to get closer to this Barcelona team.
All right, well, let's see what Sonia Bonpastor has to say. She's talking to Connie.
Sonia, really disappointing afternoon. How do you begin to sum that up?
Yeah, frustrated about the result again. I think probably these 2 games are 2 big learnings for us. I think probably, I would say, even if I know Barcelona is a really good team, the difference between these 2 teams is not that much. But yeah, maybe the biggest learning I have to take from these 2 games is one team has been clinical in both games, and my team were not able to be clinical. If you reflect on the game, the first 30 minutes we had in the game, we created the first opportunities. I think the fans were just waiting for us to score the first goal and to have a really great atmosphere. We couldn't, and I think, again, Barcelona was really clinical. The first opportunity they had, they scored, and after it's really more difficult.
It was always going to be difficult from that first leg. We spoke to Erin Cuthbert there, who was talking about the fact that she felt as though they couldn't really be themselves, and they found that over both legs. Can you sum up or begin to think about why that would be the case?
Yeah, you know, when you want to perform against the best team in Europe, you have to be in all the aspects of the performance at your best. So physically, technically, on the game plan, tactically, but also physically. I think probably, yeah, all these aspects we were not our best for different reasons, and maybe that's also the difference between both teams.
Does it give you a bit of an indication, and you mentioned there about being more clinical as part of that, things you want to change, but does it make you think you've got a little bit more work to do than you might have thought?
I would say, yeah, big learnings from these two games. Probably the only positive thing is in my head, it's really clear what we need to do and what we need to achieve to be able to compete for the Champions League final and also for this title. So probably it's good to have this experience and my reflection to help the club to grow, I think, in different aspects again. But yeah, these two games just showed us we were probably not quite ready to compete against Barcelona.
You'll have another opportunity to do that next year, but before that, there's an awful lot of important football to be played. How do you make sure that mentally they're in the headspace you need them to be at to get these trophies in the bag? Yeah,
so again, I need to lead by example, so I will be the first one to show them from tomorrow morning. We need to switch on, move forward. That's difficult, but that's the way it is. Now we can't control anymore what happened in the Champions League. We exit that competition, but we still have 2 other competitions to go. So in the league, really important game on Wednesday against Man United, and also the FA Cup final. So I think it's enough for us to be able to switch on and to stay focused in the future. That's my job, to make sure mentally my players bounce back.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
She knows what needs to be done. I wish she'd share the specifics of that, though. I'm like, yeah, but what? Like what? What is it you're going to do? Kaz, what do you expect her reaction will be?
We looked at each other. She mentioned physicality a couple of times, didn't she? But I don't know. Maybe we'll just ask for an interview, Becky. And she'll tell us. But yeah, that would keep it close to her chest, eh?
That would be good. But yeah, look, Chelsea are just going to have to, as you said, just leave this one for now. Rest of the season, a lot of football to be played.
Yeah, exactly that. I think they're out of competition now, so there's no focus, no point looking at it right now. Big game on Wednesday in the WSL against Manchester United, as they mentioned. So a real quick turnaround and 3 points, and much needed 3 points because Arsenal are closing the gap.
All right, well, Kaz, should we move on to Arsenal, Kaz? Like, yeah, you wanted to do that, didn't you? Yeah, there we go. All right, then. So there you have it. Our first Champions League finalist is confirmed. Coming up next, we'll be building up to Lyon against Arsenal as the Gunners look to stage a comeback to join Barcelona in the final in Lisbon. Stick with us.